Rest stops are supposed to feel safe, but the moment I pulled in, it felt like a trap, and the road out was gone. It was just past 1 in the morning when the green sign flashed up. Rest area, 1 mile. I told myself I needed it, just 5 minutes to stretch, grab water, shake the fatigue. But as soon as I eased into the lot, something felt wrong. The lights hummed overhead, the vending machines buzzed, and the silence pressed in so hard it made my ears ring. Then I saw it. The lane I'd entered on wasn't there anymore. Where asphalt should have curved back to the highway, there was only a guardrail and black trees swaying, and before I could even process it, headlights snapped on at the far end of the lot. An SUV, black, engine idling, waiting. At first I thought I was just turned around. The road out should have been right across from the entrance. But when I walked a few steps toward it, all I saw was more trees. The pavement ended at a guardrail that hadn't been there seconds ago. My chest tightened. I hurried back to my car, headlights sweeping across the lot. That's when they caught something new. An SUV parked at the far end. Pitch black. Lights off. I froze. It hadn't been there when I arrived. The SUV's headlights flared to life, blasting me with white. My instinct screamed at me to get in the car, so I did. The moment I started rolling forward, the SUV moved too. Slow, deliberate, blocking the path. I tried circling the lot, thinking maybe there was another exit. Each time I turned, the SUV turned too, always sliding into place just ahead, never rushing, never chasing, just denying me a way out. I even tried feinting, swung toward a parking spot as if to stop. The SUV inched closer, adjusting just enough to keep me boxed in. It didn't matter what I did. Somehow, it anticipated every move. As if I wasn't the one driving anymore. The silence made it worse. I expected engine noise, tire squeals, something. But all I heard was my own car's hum and, once, so faint I wasn't sure I hadn't imagined it, the sound of metal clacking shut, like a gate locking behind me. I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. My pulse hammered at the base of my throat. Every time I considered braking, just letting the SUV come even with me, my mind spiraled. What happens if it pulls alongside? Is this a robbery? A carjacking? Am I about to make the news for the worst reason? I pressed harder on the gas and cut toward what looked like an opening at the far end. The SUV surged forward, sliding across the front of my car so close my headlights flooded its grille. My brakes screeched, the belt locked across my chest. The SUV just sat there idling. I talked to myself, quiet, rushed. You have to pick a line and commit. Stop reacting, make a plan. Another thought pushed in anyway. Why me? What does he want? I killed my lights for a 3 count to reset the standoff, then snapped them back on. The lot looked different with the sudden glare, but not in any way that helped. My hands were sweating. I repositioned, rolling backward into the far corner to buy distance. The bottle in my cup holder tapped the plastic, tick, tick, with the vibration of the idle. I listened to it the way people listen to a metronome, trying to time my move to something other than panic. I went. Hard left, then a fast right, cutting so close to the curb the sidewall brushed concrete. The SUV lunged late this time, its beams sliding past my door instead of through my windshield. The mirror rattled as I scraped by its bumper. There wasn't room for second guessing. There wasn't room for anything. I held my line. My car shot through a narrow gap, and suddenly the road climbed. The outbound lane curved up and out, and the highway was there again, real, bright, logical. A distant semi rolled by in the right lane. A mile marker blinked into my peripheral vision. My phone buzzed in the cup holder as if nothing had happened at all. Behind me, the rest stop sat dark and quiet. I didn't stop until I hit a gas station 20 minutes down. Inside, the harsh neon lights, the hum of the fridge units, and the sound of a fryer somewhere in the back felt like stepping back into the world. I stood at the counter longer than I needed to, bottle of water sweating in my hand, trying to get my voice steady. "Is there a rest area near mile marker 212? I asked the cashier. She frowned. "Not anymore. They shut it down last year. Maintenance and other reasons." She lowered her voice. "Couple of people got into trouble there at night. State posted notices and closed it." Before I could answer, a trucker at the coffee machine spoke without turning. "Next time you see lights in that lot," he said, "don't pull in. Some folks don't make it back out." He glanced over then, met my eyes for half a second, and gave the smallest shake of his head. Not a threat, not even a warning, just a fact handed off from one driver to another. I realized I hadn't taken a sip of the water. My fingers were still trembling, the bottle clicking softly against the counter every time my hand shifted. Even with people around me, I kept checking the glass doors, as if the SUV might nose up to the curb and wait for me. Back in my car, I sat for a minute with the engine off and the lights out. The lot felt safe, bright, open, crowded by comparison. But my body didn't believe it yet. I could still feel the belt locked across my chest, still see white headlights filling the mirror. I told myself out loud, "Get home. That's the job. Get home." I took back roads the rest of the way. It added time, but it let my shoulders drop a little. At each small town's main street, I passed well-lit stations and told myself that if I needed to stop again, I would pick places like those. Cameras, people, doors that open onto noise instead of silence. Since that night, I plan my trips differently. I mark real exits, real stations, places I know. I don't take breaks in empty lots. If I'm exhausted, I pull where there are a dozen cars and a clerk behind glass. And when the highway throws up a blue sign that says rest area, I let it slide past and keep driving. I still don't know what I pulled into. Maybe it was nothing more than an aggressive driver who knew how to box someone in. Maybe I was just tired enough to miss the angles of the lot and panic at the worst time. Or maybe there are places after midnight where the design is less about convenience and more about what happens to the people who stop there. What I do know is this: I wasn't chased. I was kept. And that is a different kind of fear. Highways are supposed to get you home, but some stops are built to keep you trapped. I only wanted to change lanes, but the car beside me made sure I never could. It was late on a Tuesday night, just past 11:30, when I left my friend's place on the outskirts of the city. The drive home was supposed to be simple: 25 miles of highway. Almost no traffic at that hour. Nothing unusual. I'd done the route a dozen times before. The first few miles were uneventful. Streetlights thinned out until there was only the wash of my headlights, the dark blur of trees on either side, and the rhythmic hum of tires on asphalt. I switched the radio low, enough to fill the silence without making me sleepy. Then I saw the construction signs. Orange cones squeezed the right lane down into the left, forcing all traffic to merge. It didn't look like much. A half-mile stretch, maybe less. But I was already in the right lane. I flicked my blinker on, ready to ease over. That's when the car appeared. A black sedan, its headlights level with my shoulder. I hadn't noticed it before. It wasn't speeding, it wasn't lagging, it was just there, exactly pacing me. At first, I thought it was coincidence. I slowed slightly, giving them space to pass so I could slip behind. But when I eased off the gas, the sedan slowed too. When I sped up, so did they. Always right at my blind spot, never moving ahead, never falling behind. The merge point drew closer. My blinker ticked uselessly into the night. I gave the wheel a nervous tap. This wasn't normal. The construction barrels narrowed, reflective stripes flashing like warning teeth. I had maybe 200 feet left before the lane disappeared. I pressed harder on the gas, determined to force my way in. The sedan surged, matching me exactly. Its headlights glared hot in the mirror, as if mocking me. At the last possible second, I swerved left anyway. Tires shrieked against the pavement grooves, my car jerking half a lane, but the sedan edged even closer, forcing me back. I nearly clipped the barrels before retreating to the dying right lane. Heart pounding, I yanked the wheel straight. The lane ended. Somehow, there was just enough shoulder for me to keep going without stopping completely. My pulse hammered in my throat. What the hell was that? I tried again at the next opening. Same result. Every time I adjusted, the sedan mirrored me. Left, blocked, slow, blocked, accelerate, blocked, always within inches, perfectly timed, like it knew my thoughts before I moved. My knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. This wasn't just bad driving, this was deliberate. For 10 long miles, I was trapped, funneled down a single lane by orange cones and cold headlights. The sedan never wavered. My radio hissed faintly with static, and the little coin in my cup holder rattled in sync with the road. A relentless metallic heartbeat. I caught myself whispering out loud, "Why me? What do you want?" The car, of course, never answered. When the construction finally ended and the highway opened back into 2 full lanes, I saw my chance. I floored it, surging ahead. The sedan matched me. I braked hard, dropping 10 miles per hour in seconds. It slowed too, never passing, never leaving. The road was empty. No headlights behind. No taillights ahead. Just me and it. My chest felt tight. Shoulders knotted. My eyes burned from checking the mirrors every few seconds. I realized I'd been holding my breath. It won't let me out. It won't let me leave. The climax came when the next exit sign appeared, a glowing green promise of escape. I swerved, signaling desperately, aiming for the ramp. The sedan lunged, cutting across, its tires shrieking as it locked me out again. But this time, I refused to back down. I slammed the horn, leaning on it until the sound broke raw in my ears. My car jolted half a lane, grazing the solid white line. The sedan shifted again. Too sharp, too sudden. Its tires clipped the rumble strip, fishtailing for a moment. That hesitation was all I needed. I stomped the gas, swerved hard, and slipped into the exit lane. My hands shook so badly I almost overcorrected the curve. The sedan's headlights vanished behind me, swallowed by the darkness of the main highway. The ramp led down into a deserted gas station lot. I pulled in, heart still hammering, parked under the sickly yellow glow of a buzzing lamp. My hands left damp prints on the steering wheel. I waited. 10 seconds. 30. A full minute. No headlights followed. When I finally stepped inside to buy a bottle of water, I heard 2 older men talking at the counter. Truckers, judging by their jackets. One said, You hear about the black sedan that plays chicken with people in the merge lanes? The other nodded slowly. Yeah, happens around mile marker 82. Some guy nearly flipped his SUV last month. They never catch the driver. Some say it isn't even the same car each time. They noticed me listening. One gave me a look, something between warning and pity. Neither spoke again. On the drive home, I took only back roads, slower, longer, but empty of headlights. Even now, weeks later, I feel it every time I signal to merge. The tick of the blinker makes my pulse spike, like I'm waiting for that shadow to appear again in my blind spot. Because once you've been trapped like that, you never forget. Not every trap on the highway is built from cones and signs. Sometimes, it's the car that decides you don't get a way out. It was past midnight when I left the warehouse, tired but relieved to finally be heading home. The night shift always left me drained, and that stretch of highway was the quickest way back. No traffic lights, no major interchanges, just a straight shot for 30 miles until the turnoff into town. The road was quiet, almost too quiet. My headlights carved out a pale tunnel ahead, and beyond that was nothing but black trees and the faint glint of reflective signs. My dashboard clock read 12:47 a.m. I told myself I'd be home in half an hour, maybe less if I kept steady. That was when I noticed it. The box truck. A plain, white, unmarked truck about 200 feet ahead, cruising in the right lane. No logos, no license plate I could make out in the dark. Just this big, blank shape illuminated by my headlights. At first, I didn't think much of it. Trucks at night aren't unusual. But when the green sign for my exit appeared in the distance, the truck shifted. Without signaling, it drifted from the right lane to the center, directly blocking the exit ramp. I slowed, thinking maybe the driver was just careless, but the truck matched my speed perfectly. I switched lanes, easing left to go around. The truck moved too, just a second later, like it anticipated me. Somewhere under the chassis, a faint metallic clack echoed, like a latch dropping shut. I frowned and dropped back. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe the driver was tired, same as me. The sign for the exit drew closer. My heartbeat quickened. I tried again, accelerated, shifted right. The truck veered with me, blocking the ramp completely this time. I swerved back into the main lane at the last second, my tires humming against the grooves in the pavement. The exit flew past. I cursed under my breath. Now I'd have to wait for the next one, 10 miles away. The truck kept its position ahead of me, never speeding too far, never falling behind. Always right there, in control of the road. The longer I followed, the more wrong it felt. No taillights except the faint red glow, no reflective tape, no company markings, just this boxy silhouette against the night. I tried to calm down. Maybe I was overthinking it, but as I passed mile marker after mile marker, every attempt to pass ended the same. I'd drift left, and the truck would drift left. I'd ease right, and it would slide right too. Always perfectly timed. Too perfect for chance. Why me? Why this truck? What does it want from me? By the time the next exit sign appeared, my palms were damp against the steering wheel. This was my chance. I pressed harder on the gas, planning to cut around at the last moment. The ramp was lit by a single flickering lamp, the only brightness on that whole stretch. I aimed for it like a lifeline. But just as I shifted lanes, the truck swung across, blocking it again. The motion was so abrupt I had to slam my brakes, tires squealing. The ramp vanished behind us. My heart hammered. That was 2 exits in a row. For the next few miles, the highway narrowed through a stretch of woods. The trees leaned close, branches like claws reaching into the road. The truck stayed ahead, steady, always between me and any way out. I tested it. I slowed nearly to a crawl. So did it. I accelerated hard. The truck responded instantly, never letting me get closer than 50 feet. I tried to convince myself this wasn't happening, that maybe my fatigue was making me paranoid. But every move I made was mirrored too cleanly. It was like the driver didn't just see me. It was like he knew what I was about to do. When the 3rd exit came into sight, I decided I wasn't playing anymore. I dropped back even further, letting the truck pull far ahead. My headlights barely reached it now. I waited, gripping the wheel tight, then surged forward, swerving fast to the right. The truck cut across the lane so violently that I thought it would tip. For a split second, both lanes were blocked, white metal filling my entire windshield. I slammed the brakes, horn blaring. My coffee thermos rattled out of the cup holder. When the truck finally steadied, the ramp was gone again. I'd missed my chance. I drove another 15 minutes, pulse racing, stomach twisting. The road felt endless. Then something stranger happened. Up ahead, the glow of the truck dimmed. The shape grew smaller, farther away. I realized it was accelerating, pulling out of reach. For the first time, it wasn't matching me anymore. I let out a shaky breath. Maybe it had finally decided to move on. When the next exit appeared, I took it immediately, tires skidding onto the ramp. I didn't even care where it led. I just needed off that stretch. The ramp curved down into a side road with a gas station visible in the distance. Relieved, I checked my mirrors. The highway behind me was empty, no headlights, no truck. At the gas station, under the buzzing glow of the lamps, I sat in the car for a full minute, hands shaking on the wheel. The truck hadn't followed. I was safe. Or at least I thought I was. Because as I stepped inside to grab a drink, I overheard 2 truckers talking by the counter. One of them said, "You hear about that white box truck? The one that blocks exits?" I froze. The other laughed nervously. "Yeah. My buddy swears he got trapped between 2 of them once. Says he drove 20 extra miles before it vanished." They noticed me listening, so I pretended to look at the snack rack. But my chest felt hollow. This wasn't just me. On the drive home, I avoided the highway completely. Took back roads, longer and slower, but safer. Even now, weeks later, I can't get that feeling out of my head. Being controlled, steered like a rat in a maze. Since that night, anytime I spot a white box truck, even in daylight, I change lanes without thinking. And I still wonder, if I hadn't fought to escape, where would that truck have led me? Sometimes, the most dangerous trap on the highway isn't a crash or a storm. It's a driver who decides you're not allowed to leave. It was just past midnight, and I was halfway through my drive home from a delivery route. I'd been on the highway for hours, cruising through long, dark stretches of farmland and patches of forest. It was the kind of drive where the hum of the tires and the rhythm of the dashed lines could hypnotize you if you weren't careful. I was tired, but not exhausted, just ready to be done. My GPS said I had about 40 minutes left, and I was counting down mile markers like lifelines. That's when I saw it. A bright orange Detour sign. It stood just beyond the shoulder, propped on a pair of legs, with an arrow pointing toward the next exit. A couple of traffic cones flanked it, glowing faintly under my headlights. I frowned. I hadn't seen any warning about road work, and this stretch of highway rarely had maintenance crews at night. Still, detour signs are detour signs. You follow them. So I did. I slowed as the off-ramp curved down into a narrow two-lane road. It was darker than the highway, barely lit, lined with trees on both sides. At first, I assumed it would loop me around and reconnect in a couple miles. But mile after mile, the road kept going. The cones appeared every so often, almost like breadcrumbs leading deeper. But the deeper I went, the stranger it felt. The pavement was rougher, with cracks that had gone years without repair. No other cars joined me, no signs of construction equipment, just me and the cones. I told myself it was fine. Detours sometimes snake around. I'd get back on the highway soon. But then I noticed something in the mirror. Headlights, far behind me, maybe 200 yards back. A pair of faint white beams appeared. Too dim for high beams. Too steady for a random car pulling in. They stayed exactly the same distance, for miles. The detour narrowed through the trees, and soon there were no more side roads, just this one strip of asphalt. I tested the headlights behind me by slowing down a little. They slowed too. I sped up. They did too. Always keeping the same gap. That creeping unease turned into a heavy knot in my stomach. I rolled the window down, trying to shake off the paranoia with fresh air. But the only sound was the steady crunch of my tires and the faint whistle of wind through the trees. The night was otherwise silent. Too silent. By now I'd been off the highway at least 15 minutes. My GPS, still glowing faintly on the dash, showed a gray line. No roads. Just a blinking arrow floating nowhere. That's when I realized this wasn't leading me back. The cones thinned out, then disappeared entirely. The detour had no end. I tried to calm myself, but panic was pressing in now. I thought about pulling over, letting the headlights behind pass me, but every instinct screamed not to. The gap was too precise. Whoever was back there wasn't just driving, they were following. I finally saw a break, a dirt access path cutting between the trees. Without thinking, I jerked the wheel, bouncing onto it, gravel kicking under the tires. My seatbelt dug into my shoulder as the car rattled hard. The headlights behind swerved too. They followed. That confirmed it. The dirt path curved sharply, then spit me back onto another stretch of pavement. My heart sank. Somehow I was on the same detour road again. That was impossible. But there it was. The same cracked asphalt. The same faded yellow lines, stretching ahead under the tunnel of trees. And the headlights behind me, exactly where they'd always been. I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. My chest felt tight, lungs barely pulling in air. Why me? What did they want? I pushed harder on the gas. For the first time, the headlights grew larger, closing the distance. My speedometer climbed. 50, 60, 70. The road blurred, the trees whipping past like a tunnel. And still, the lights stayed with me. Steady, patient, like they had all the time in the world. Then, up ahead, I saw salvation. A glow. Bright white lamps rising above the trees, another highway overpass. My pulse jumped. If I could just get back up there, I'd be fine. I'd be safe. I slammed the accelerator. The engine roared, gravel and dust spitting from under the tires. The road curved one last time, and I spotted an upward ramp cutting back toward the highway. The headlights surged behind me, closer than ever, almost kissing my bumper. I didn't look back. I just took the ramp. My tires screamed as I merged onto the highway again. Smooth, open pavement stretched wide and empty. And for the first time in 20 minutes, I felt air in my lungs again. I risked a glance in the mirror. The ramp behind me was dark. No headlights, no cones, no detour sign, just bare asphalt feeding into the night. I drove another 10 miles before pulling into a gas station. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my wallet paying for coffee. When I mentioned the detour to the cashier, his face went pale. "There's no detour off that highway," he said. "Not at night, not for years." I asked if he was sure. He just nodded, lips tight. As I turned to leave, a trucker sitting at the counter muttered without looking up, "Don't follow signs you don't recognize out here. Some roads aren't meant to be found. Detours are supposed to guide you back, but some only lead you deeper until escape feels like luck, not choice."